Hey, Joel here. I want to talk a little bit about emails and typical open rates for the industry. So I pulled some stats here and manually sent emails. Um, they are typically opened at almost 80%. So that means ones that your sales reps are sending like a contract. And so that's a really high open rate, but that's because the customer is wanting and expecting emails from them. So you can check your open rates just by going into your email center. You'll click on like say your particular email, like a contract or something, and go to the stats, and then you'll be able to see how many were sent, how many were opened, um, clicked. So if you have a link in it, we'll measure how many were clicked. Replies, if you're using our CRM tool, it'll measure that, how many of them sent an email back. Not delivered is also known as bounce, and then how many unsubscribed. So typically you'll just look at the overall one. These other things over here are if you've made edits to the email while it's sending, and you wanted to keep track, for example, of that. That's what it's for. So like I said, manually sent emails have a 80% open rate. Ones that are automatically sent, excluding newsletters, so these would be like our yearly reminders and stuff, um, typically are at about a 54%, and then newsletters about a 20%. So this is just stats I pulled from our own software. You can look up stats for other industries and stuff, but from what I was seeing, that's pretty typical, 20% open rate, but that's usually across all emails. So that's a pretty good delivery for our email system, I think. Ways that you can improve that is by segmenting. So I wanted to give an example here. If you go over to settings and go to email center, and let's look at some newsletters. So click here and I'll go to type newsletter. And I like to sort by last modified. All right, so we sent out some emails here talking about our web services. Let me filter this a little bit more. All right, so we sent out one to existing customers. And so you can click here under restrictions here and you'll see I sent it to current customers. So that's you guys. They're paying or using our software. And so, of course, you're more interested in than people that aren't using our software. So we had a good open rate on this newsletter, 53%. And then we also sent a separate one that was a little different to people that aren't using our system. And so you can see here I set a restriction, don't send to current customers. And this current customers is a filter I set up. So you can see the stats here on this is a 19% open rate. And so as you can see, if you segment and target your lists, you can improve the open rate. Now, obviously, if I just sent one email to the whole group, it would have probably been an average. But what I tried to do when we wrote these emails was having one targeted content-wise and subject line-wise. So for example, if you're going to send out a newsletter, you may want to segment them by your residential versus backyard, residential versus commercial, or churches, and have different messages that will appeal more to them, or past customers versus new customers. And obviously the more you spend on this, like the more time, it's just going to take more money and more time to segment and all that stuff. So you have to kind of just weigh the pros and cons for each marketing campaign you're doing. Is it makes sense to send out two different messages, or is the message the same regardless of the group you're sending it to? If it's the same message you're sending to your whole list, then there's no point in making two newsletters to send to each group. But if you're able to come up with an idea or a plan on how to target it more specifically, you'll see better results. So yeah, you can take a look at your emails that you've sent and see how you're performing compared to what the average is. So like I said, manually sent emails like the contract or an invoice, you should be seeing close to 80% open rate. Newsletters are close to 20%. Automatic emails, for example, a yearly reminder type email, Those are typically closer to 50%. And yeah, but the results can vary widely depending on how targeted or segmented you get in your list. So if you want to see more info on how to do that, look back at one of our earlier day videos on newsletters. We went over how to make filters here under settings, and then how to apply them using that restrict by. So hopefully that's helpful. Thanks.